The third submodule includes the introduction of gamification mechanics and components. Further, gamification design principles are explained. Verba and Hunter state that in order to integrate gamification components into an environment, firstly, the dynamics to be used in the environment, and then the mechanics that serve these dynamics should be determined. Emphasizing that gamification components can be selected after these processes, the researchers considered dynamics, mechanics, and components as a structure that goes from general to specific in the framework they propose. According to this framework, dynamics are structures that are not directly involved in the gamified environment but provide a big picture view of the design. Very general design ideas, such as which emotions are desired to be evoked in a gamified environment, at which point the users will be restricted, how the relationship of the users will be, and whether the gamified environment will have a story. So, researchers emphasize that there can be five different dynamics in a gamified environment. These are emotions, constraints, relationships, story, and progression. But designers can choose one or more of them. They do not have to choose all of them. After the selection of dynamics, mechanics are selected to trigger these dynamics. Mechanics are analyzed under the factors of challenge, reward, feedback, resource acquisition, cooperation, competition, and transaction. Mechanics are defined as more specialized structures than dynamics. With the challenge mechanics, the elements that the user needs to struggle within the environment are determined. While with the reward mechanics, it is decided which rewards will be accepted as an indicator of success for users who overcome a challenge. And in addition, feedback determines how users will be informed about their current status. And the resource acquisition determines what users will collect when they achieve their goals in the environment. The transaction mechanic determines if users will exchange resources with each other or not, and whether there will be cooperation and competition in the environment is also among the decisions taken during the mechanics selection process. And mechanics are used to customize a selected dynamic and to decide on the components to be integrated into the gamified environment. After the mechanics selection, the components that will activate these mechanics in the environment are selected. Components are the elements that enable the direct integration of the selected dynamics and mechanics into the gamified environment. Avatar level, content unlocking, points, collection, leaderboard, virtual goods, achievement, team, boss fight, gift, and badge are among the gamification components defined within the framework that was presented here. And now let's define the components. Avatar is the visual representing the user in the gamified environment. Level is the component that provide indicators of the user's progress in the environment. Points are numerical values representing the user's progress. Content unlocking is the inability to access the next content without reaching the conditions set in the environment. Collections are objects that can be collected in the environment. And leaderboard is a list where users are ranked according to their points or the items they have collected. Virtual goods are items that users collect or buy in the environment and can use in the process. Achievement is the rewards given to users at the end of a challenge overcome in the environment. Team is groups of people who act together to achieve a goal in the environment. Boss fight is the most difficult challenge, which is more difficult than other challenges in the environment and is usually encountered at the end of a level. Gifting is the component that allows users to give points, collectibles, or virtual items they have collected in the environment to other users. Badges are visuals representing the user's success, designed to value the outputs in the environment. Badges are used for different purposes, such as enabling the user to set goals in the gamified environment, giving the user status and fame, and identifying users with common experiences in the environment. In addition, Dicheva and others emphasize that game mechanics and game design principles should be used together to gamify a learning environment and propose a two-step framework for gamification design. The first step of this framework consists of game mechanics such as points, levels, leaderboards, badges, avatars, and virtual items. In the second step, design principles are emphasized to be integrated with teaching principles. The principles are as follows. Challenges are determined based on the user's competencies and become progressively more difficult as the user advances. Users are allowed to track their own progress within the environment. Elements that confer status to the user are involved, and these elements are visible to all users. Instant feedback is provided. Users are offered sub options related to the challenges they are undertaking. Users are granted the freedom to make mistakes. The environment involves elements of both cooperation and competition. Another study made suggestions for designing gamified learning environments based on flow theory. Similar to Dicheva's study, researchers suggested that the challenge element should get harder as the levels rise. Feedback and rewards should be given instantly, and different options should be offered to the user to overcome the challenges. In addition, it was suggested that the first challenge element in the gamified environment should be a fairly easy challenge. Learners should be given the opportunity to have different identities in the environment. Competition should be used to motivate learners, and learners should not be punished for their mistakes in the environment. And progress in the gamified environment should be shared with parents, peers, and teachers. We know that the factors that will motivate each user in a gamified environment are different. In this study, the mechanics and elements with a positive effect on player types are given in figure. The eight mechanics used in the design and their triggering elements according to player types were located based on Bartle's coordinate plane. The mechanics were placed onto the coordinate plane in the inner circle, and the corresponding elements that served these mechanics were placed as a second external ring. The elements that trigger player types are shown on the coordinate plane with arcs. One of the most important findings of this study, as can be seen in figure 1, the mechanics that the elements serve differ by player type. In other words, an element might serve different mechanics depending on player types. For example, the achievement element was considered a reward by the explorer, while the achiever interpreted it as a resource acquisition, and the socializer as part of the narrative. The badge element was a reward for the explorer, but an element serving the narrative for the socializer. In addition, for the killer type, gifting was a negative element, triggering competition, as it could allow other players to move ahead of them on the leaderboard, while conversely, it attracted the socializer as a method to trigger transaction. The level element served as a status mechanic for the killer, but a progression mechanic for the achiever and explorer. This is thought to be related directly to the use of elements in the design. For example, as achievements are selected to support the narrative, the achievement element triggered the socializer in this context. If the design had not been created in this manner, the achievement element would not have affected the socializer to the same degree. And thus, mechanics and components should be designed considering the player types, learning styles, individual differences. Although this is easier with adaptive gamified environments, it is also possible to realize close to ideal designs by using personalized gamified environments. Gamified learning environments could be designed to include various elements so that each user can encounter those that attract them. Components in the gamified environment can be optional for users. In this way, socializers who like to collaborate can activate the team components, while killers can only choose to rank on the leaderboard and do the task individually. As detailed in the gamification tools video, it is possible to implement gamification with digital or non digital tools or with a mixed method using both together. Now, I would like to share with you two gamification implementations that my colleagues and I have implemented. We planned a 13-week course for university students using WordPress LMS, a learning management system that can be gamified with plugins. The course was structured around a story that focused on a pirate attempting to reach a treasure. The learners earned points as they met educational goals and collected visual goods that helped the pirate find the treasure. The objective was for the pirate to move from one island to the next and reach the final island where the treasure is located. Levels representing weeks were visualized as islands that the pirate passes through to reach the treasure. Learners earned achievements compatible with the story as they unlocked each level. For example, when meeting the challenge or learning task, for example, reading the article of the week and preparing a video summarizing the subject of the week in the first level, the learner earned points and was able to release the luck on the second level and thus open the content of the second week. The function of badges was to earn status and was awarded to learners who finished the week with the highest scores, who were ranked among the top three in the leaderboard, or who shared content about the learning environment on social networks. For instance, a badge earned in one level was visualized to show the achievements earned by the pirate in that level. The surprise element was used to add a factor of chance into the environment and was programmed to appear as Aladdin's magic lamp, one of the pieces of the treasure, at random, depending on the actions of the learner in the system. Learner's position on the leaderboard was based on earned points and ranked according to daily, weekly, monthly, and total points. Collection items were given to learners who clicked on the supplementary materials. And finally, learners could give each other gifts by sending points to those who were unable to unlock content or by giving them achievements. In another study of ours, Instagram was used as the digital tool and printed profile cards were used as the non digital tool. The design included point, leaderboard, badge, level, achievement, story, team, progress, and reward components. To personalize the profile cards, students wrote their names and the country or city they wanted to go. For example, Cubra's adventure in Spain on this profile card. The profile card included all the badges that the student could earn, and the badge was marked when the student earned the relevant badge. Badges are designed in accordance with the story. For example, when all levels are completed, the participant with the highest score won the conqueror of the city. Additionally, the system displays the points accumulated by the student across all levels and corresponding stars. Students gain points by completing tasks assigned in the classroom as well as homeworks. Weekly, students are ranked on a leaderboard based on the points they collected. Each week, which equals a level, constitutes a unit within the course's framework. Students enrolled in the course have the ability to progress through the levels. In other words, the levels are not locked. Students receive virtual items such as grocery vouchers and plane tickets relevant to the narrative as a reward for the stars obtained upon completing a level. Profile cards and announcements were shared with students via Instagram at the end of the relevant week. In summary, there are many gamification design frameworks. Now, I would like to share with you the strategies I have created to integrate game components into the learning environment, taking into account all these frameworks and my design experiences. So, list your main and sub goals. Define challenges by combining game mechanics and goals. Determine clear, small, and challenging but achievable challenges, learning tasks which are linked to rewards like stars, virtual goods, or badges. Tasks should get more difficult step by step. Don't let them fail in the beginning. Match the game elements and learning tasks. Make the progress visible like leaderboards or profile pages. Let them take control, but don't allow them to get lost or stuck. Give clear guidance. Provide different individual paths to follow, give feedback and opportunity to improve. Everything is feedback, a badge, points, etc. But avoid negative performance feedback and find ways to recall them to the gamified environment. It could be by notifications and give new challenges.